Hey, Scottsdale Bible, I got to tell you, when I came here 4 years ago as your senior pastor, the idea of celebrating 50 years as a church was not on my radar at all. I was consumed with so many other things. And about a year ago, it came to my attention through our elders and our leaders and our staff that our church turns 50 in January of 2012. And that's a huge deal for us. That's not something we want to take lightly. And so over the last year, we've had a key lay team along with some elders and staff working on how we can best celebrate 50 years as a church here in the Valley and around the world. And they've come up with a 3-word phrase that capsulizes what we want to do next year as a church. And that phrase is to remember, rejoice, and renew. Remember, rejoice, and renew. In short, we want to remember what God has done in 50 years of ministry here as a church in the Valley. We want to rejoice as we remember and what He has done and thank Him and celebrate 50 years of ministry. And then probably most important, we want to renew our lives before Him and each re-up our commitment to Him and His church as we look forward to the next 50 years of ministry should the Lord tarry. So we got a lot of things planned beginning in January of this next year that we want to walk you through now so that we can all prepare for our celebration next year. One of the first things you're going to notice is that we've provided a devotional next year for you. It's a devotional that's been written by the members and friends of Scottsdale Bible Church, your beloved leaders. So everybody from Daryl to Wayne Grudem to myself to Barry Asmus, people who have been preaching and teaching to you as well as involved in leadership and just in our lay leadership, have all pulled together and written a devotional for each day of the year next year. We're going to make that available in our bookstore in December here. We plan on kicking off the year on January 15th with a great celebration. I mean a really big celebration. As many of you know, Scottsdale Bible Church has a rich history in 50 years of ministry. And so we're planning on having January 15th be the day that we all know that we're celebrating 50 years. We're going to take a look at the history of the church on that day. We're going to remember, rejoice, and renew as we take a look at what God has done over the years in and through our church in the Phoenix metropolitan area as well as around the world. That's going to be a day that you don't want to miss as we kick off a year-long prayer of thanksgiving to God for what He has done. We have an amazing array of preaching planned throughout the year. In fact, I'm probably most excited about this. What we're going to do is throughout the year, at certain points in the year, we're going to bring back one of our previous senior pastors to address us when it comes to God's Word and the 7 churches listed in Revelation. So each pastor is going to take one of the 7 churches. So we're going to hear from Dr. Jim Borer and Dr. Cheryl Babb, from Don Sanukian, from Daryl Delhoussaye, from Larry Anderson, and then obviously from myself when it comes to the 7 churches. And so throughout the year, we're going to celebrate, again, remember and rejoice the leaders that God has given us as they challenge us to renew from the book of Revelation. That'll be an exciting part of our year. And then in February of next year, we're going to have a journey of worship. We've picked a particular night in February where we're going to bring back our beloved worship leaders, and we're going to celebrate all the different seasons of worship in one night that we have been through as a church. And so, as you know, we've had very diverse styles of music over the years, and we're going to bring all of that back and celebrate what God has done in worship as we also look forward with our current worship styles to what He's going to do as we renew our lives. That's going to be a special event for us in February. One of the things that I'm also very excited about for next year is that we are planning to erect some kind of Ebenezer here on our campus. Now, some of you are saying, what's an Ebenezer? It's an Old Testament phrase. It's a structure, a rock that the Israelites set up that was a remembrance, a living remembrance of what God had done in their midst. And so we want to capitalize on that and find some sort of remembrance, some sort of Ebenezer that we're going to erect on our campus that's going to carry us forward for the next 50 years. And then we got a bunch of 50s planned for 50 years of ministry. But we have 50 service projects planned for next year, which we're going to ask all of us to pick a service project to minister to our community, 50 different service projects that we can be involved in to show our community that we love them with the love of Jesus Christ. We hope to take 50 international mission trips. As you all remember, I challenged the church last summer to be involved in international missions, and we hope to double the amount of mission trips that we take as a church in 2012. We've planned 50 hours of prayer right around the Easter season to engage us all in prayer for God's church and for our communities. We spend 50 hours in prayer. And so you see the theme of 50 that we've planned throughout the year. And we're excited to celebrate again what God has done and prepare our hearts for the future. And then in the fall of next year, we're going to do something that we haven't done in a long time, but I'm so excited about this. We're going to try to pull all 7,000 of us together in one place on one Sunday in October to remember, rejoice, and renew. But we hope to find a place, we're looking right now, in which we can all gather together for a single worship service and just celebrate what God has done. As many of you know me, one of the things that I am most excited about for our 50-year celebration is this renew component. Again, I've been your pastor now for 4 years, and though I've come to greatly appreciate the history of our church, I'm probably most fired up about where God is taking us. And so one of the things we're going to do in this next year is implement something that we're calling Worship, Connect, and Serve. Worship, Connect, and Serve, or its trade name is 2 + 2 + 2. And what we're going to basically challenge every member and friend of Scottsdale Bible Church to do is to re-up his or her commitment when it comes to worship, connecting with other believers, and serving God with our gifts and our passions. And so we're going to ask each person of the church to commit to one of our 6 or 7 worship venues each week and regularly worship at Scottsdale Bible Church, 2 hours. Then we're going to ask each member and friend of Scottsdale Bible Church to make sure they've connected in some type of small group. We have tons of small groups at our church, and we're going to develop even more so that every person who calls Scottsdale Bible Church their home has a small group that he or she can connect in on a regular basis. Again, another 2 hours on average per week. And then we're also going to challenge every member and friend of Scottsdale Bible Church, anybody that calls this church home, to serve. It might be inside the walls of this church, it might be outside the walls of this church in the community, but to serve using the gifts and passions that God has given you. Again, another 2 hours a week. But we've worked long and hard to ask ourselves, what is it that would allow somebody to show that they love God in and through their church, Scottsdale Bible Church? And we believe this idea of worship, connect, and serve is a great way for us to renew our commitment to God in 50 years. So you're going to hear a lot about that as we celebrate beginning here in January. We want you to start praying for your church. Pray that God would use us in this community to continue to be a beacon and a light to lost people. Pray that He would prepare our church believers to engage Him fully as we remember, rejoice, and renew. And then also ask yourself, what can I do to be fully involved, fully engaged with God's church as we celebrate 50 years? And I believe as we all band together, that God is going to be glorified, the community is going to be witnessed to in profound ways, and we're all going to find a lot more joy with each other and with God's church as we prepare our hearts for the future. So I want to thank you all for just taking the time to watch this video and to prayerfully consider your role in what we're going to do to celebrate 50 years as a church.